What's up, everyone? This is this what it is, and I'm your host, the Gunvid. So, start off the show. Line up a nice blunt. I usually smoke J's, but smoking a blunt today, you know? And I gotta say, I got a good show for today. There's some really good topics I want to speak about. Usually I just get on here and just fuck around and just talk about random shit. But today I got some really good topics. Get this shit lit. Let me think about which one I want to go with first. So let's talk about recency bias in sports and fighting. So I was thinking about Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. So in their fight, Mike Tyson knocked him out, and then the ref counted too slow. So I think he should have won that fight. But, you know, when Buster got up, it's like a completely different fight, you know? Because it's like, when you're fighting, you want to be ready, you know? That's why they warm up before the fight. So then when Tyson looks at him and he's like down for like 10 seconds, Tyson, he pretty much kind of like stopped fighting at that point. He thought the fight was over. And then it's like he had to, you know, get back ready to fight again. And it's like, what the fuck? The same thing happened with Wilder and Fury in their first fight. He got that, you know what I'm saying? Wilder got that knockdown. He actually knocked him out cold. And then Fury, fucking savage that he is, he came back and won the fight. But yeah, so Buster Douglas got up and then he knocked out Mike Tyson, which, you know, props to him. Not too many people can say they did that, but, you know, that doesn't make his legacy greater than Mike's, because when you look at a total career, you're not looking at recency bias. You're looking at everything that fighter did in their career. So after he knocked out Mike Tyson, a lot of people might not know this, you know. Actually, they might, but like, you know, casual fans, they might not know. He got knocked out in his next fight by Evander Holyfield. Douglas, he threw a right uppercut, and then Holyfield perfectly countered it with the right straight and knocked him out. And then Douglas, after that, he won like 5 more fights against some lower ranked opponents. And then he got knocked out. And then he won 2 more fights. And then retired. So it's like, looking at his career in total, yeah, he, you know, we can say he had a great career, but does that make him greater than Mike? No. Because, you know, it's about what you did in total. So when you're looking at the fights nowadays, and we're looking at matchups like Ennis versus Crawford, if Ennis wins that fight, yeah, that makes him better than Crawford right now. But you look at everything Crawford did in his career, it's kind of like the same thing with Douglas and Tyson, you know? Crawford has had a greater career. He's had more of a career than Ennis. You know, Ennis is a younger fighter. So, you know, yeah, there's recency bias, but we just gotta let everything play out before we make our judgment on who had a better career. And so, the next topic I want to talk about is the UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight division. Also, middleweight. This is a great fucking time for the UFC in all weight classes, not just the ones I mentioned, but there's some really great fucking matchups. And if you know about the history of the UFC, you can see that things are just, you know, everything that's led up to this point, the storylines are fucking amazing right now. So let's talk about light heavyweight. The champion is Alex Pereira, and people were talking about him moving up to heavyweight, and potentially he can move up to heavyweight, but he's recently said, when asked about fighting Tom Aspinall, he said his focus is not really heavyweight at this point, and it doesn't make sense for him to fight for an interim belt. You know, I think if he wants to go to heavyweight, he wants to fight for the real deal, you know? Because it's a real risk going up to heavyweight, you know? It was even a risk for him moving up to light heavyweight, but he had enough power to do so, you know? And he did. So, if you look at his UFC career, he made his way up the ranks really quickly and got a fight against Adesanya quicker than most people would have if they just joined the UFC, because they had history. So prior to that, their third fight in total, Adesanya and Pereira fought 2 times in kickboxing, and Pereira won the first fight by decision and the second fight by knockout, I believe. Yeah, that's how it went. And then in the third fight in the UFC, Pereira TKO'd Adesanya, and then they fought again. They had a rematch in the UFC. So their fourth fight, Adesanya knocked him out cold. So there's a lot of history there. And then, so Pereira lost his middleweight belt by knockout to Adesanya, and then he moved up to light heavyweight and won that belt, which Adesanya failed to do. So technically, Pereira's a double champ, but he wasn't the current champ at middleweight when he did that. So technically, he is a double champ, but like when McGregor did it, he still had his featherweight belt when he won the featherweight championship, and then moved up to lightweight and won that. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm just kind of explaining the history of the double champions. But yeah, so right now, Pereira's the light heavyweight champion, and I think the next challenger is Magomed Ankalaev. And that's going to be a great fight. But yeah, so let's talk about heavyweight. John Jones, he got injured. He was going to fight Stipe, but then he got injured. So we've been waiting to see like what's next in the heavyweight division. And that's a great fight. That's a fight that Stipe can really win. But we're going to have to see how he looks when he comes back, because he hasn't fought in a while. And then I think Jones hasn't fought in like a year. So although both fighters haven't fought in a while. This is very fucking interesting in the UFC heavyweight division and light heavyweight, because now Jones got to fight Stipe, and then you got Tom Aspinall waiting. But Aspinall might get jumped by Pereira. I mean, like, Pereira, he can possibly skip Aspinall and then get the winner of Stipe versus Jones. But let's just say Jones wins against Stipe. I didn't give my prediction for that fight, but I think right now I think Jones might win that fight. But let's say Jones wins, right? And then Pereira fights Jones. That's going to be a really fucking great matchup, because John Jones is kind of like the Mike Tyson of the UFC right now. He's won many belts. He's undefeated. Technically, I know some people thought he lost a couple fights by decision. But, you know, he's the GOAT right now in the UFC. And so if Pereira moves up and he beats him, he'll become a 3-weight champion, even though he's not the current middleweight champion. He's won a title at middleweight. So he'll be the light heavyweight and heavyweight champion if he wins. But like I spoke about with Tyson and Douglas, that's why I mentioned that fight. If Pereira wins, does that make him the GOAT? Some people may say so, but I don't think so, because we're going to have to see what happens next. Like with Douglas, you know, like I said, he lost his next fight by knockout. And wrestling is not really Pereira's thing, so he has the potential to lose if after he beats Jones. I don't know what's going to happen from there, but right now, what I really want to talk about is just how exciting the picture is in the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions, even middleweight. Just, even in all the weight divisions, this is a really fucking great time for the UFC, and I'm really excited to see these next fights, because there's some really great matchups. Like I mentioned, Aspinall, he's looking great. Pause. You know, he's been having great fights, and he's showing great technique. You know, his fight, let's talk about his fight versus Pavlovich, because that was really impressive. He knocked out Pavlovich in the first round, and Sergey Pavlovich, he was on a really fucking great run, and he had the potential to even become champion. And I still think he does have the potential to be a heavyweight champion. Don't sleep on him just because he got knocked out in the first round. Especially in heavyweight, all of these fighters have the potential to get knocked out. So, yeah, I gotta say, it's a great time for the UFC. And shout out to them for making the right matchups to get the UFC to this point. Okay, I think I got the next topic. There was a fight that was announced. I remember now. Okay, so if I got the right news, because I saw it on the Instagram, I don't think it was on the UFC page, but I think Max Holloway versus Ilya Topuria has been announced for September. And that's going to be a great fucking fight. That's a great matchup. So right now, Ilya Topuria is the featherweight champion, 145-pound champion in the UFC. And then Holloway um, before Volkanovski. So Topuria beat Volkanovski before Volkanovski. Holloway was the champion, and he had a great run. And now he's made his, he's made his way back up to the title fight. So this is a fucking great fight. So if you don't know their styles, Holloway, he's more of a pressure fighter. He knocked out Gaethje. He got a couple impressive knockouts, but and impressive TKOs over Aldo, but his style, I feel like, he gets a lot of decision wins because he doesn't throw everything into one punch. Lately, he's been throwing more power in his punches, but he's more of a volume striker, I would say. So he he throws a lot of jabs, a lot of volume. And then Topuria, I feel like he's more of a knockout fighter, to where he's trying to take his opponent's head off, and just fucking knock them out cold. He got some really good knockouts. So yeah, let's see. This is a 50-50 fight, even though Holloway, I think he got his recent wins were more impressive because he went up to lightweight and won the BMF belt against Justin Gaethje by knockout. He knocked him out cold in the last second. So, I really gotta fucking think about my prediction for this fight because both fighters are really great. This is gonna be fucking tough. I'll say Max Holloway wins by decision. I think Topuria is gonna have some good moments. He might hurt Max. He may even knock him down. I don't know. But I think technique-wise and experience-wise, everything being considered, because experience is very fucking important. If you look at fighters in the gym sparring and shit, or even fighting in the pros, that experience is gonna really fucking help you as far as the later rounds, as far as really technical parts of fighting. I think Max Holloway has the better experience. I think I know that Topuria, he doesn't have as many fights, so he's a newer fighter in the UFC. He's making his name. So I think, taking that into consideration, Max Holloway, he might even get a couple takedowns on Topuria. So yeah, I think Holloway will win by decision. But if Topuria knocks out Holloway, he's gonna be looking to have a great career in the future if he keeps winning, because he knocked out Volkanovski and people were saying he's arguably the greatest of all time. So if he could beat Holloway again, and then Volkanovski gets his rematch, and then if he beats him again and goes on a run and goes undefeated, he has the potential to become the featherweight GOAT, and he could potentially go up to lightweight and win over there. So his future looks bright, but he got to get past Holloway if he wants to put his name in the hat of being one of the greatest fighters of UFC history, not just featherweight. So we're gonna have to see that. Will he do it? I don't know. He kind of paused. He looks undersized to be fighting at lightweight. You know, some of those fighters, they on fight day they get up to like 180. So like looking at him, I don't know if he's gonna be able to fight against the lightweights. So we're gonna have to see how that goes. But yeah, definitely look out for that fight. It's gonna be a great fucking fight. It's a great matchup. Both fighters have great technique. Both of them are really sharp, especially with the striking. So let's see. And then if Max Holloway wins, that's gonna open up a potential for like a fucking fourth fight or even a fifth fight. I don't even know how many times they fought at this point, but a fight between him and Alexander Volkanovski, because they fought like 3 or 4 times. I think 3 times, and Alexander Volkanovski won all the fights by decision. And the first 2 fights, people were like arguing over who won, but I think the third fight, Volkanovski won more decisively. So if Holloway wins, it could open up the potential for them to have a fourth fight or even a fifth fight. Fuck, I don't know, but you know, that's gonna be a great matchup. And then if Holloway beats Volkanovski, he clearly is gonna become the greatest of all time at featherweight. And I don't think they're gonna have another fight between them. So we're gonna have to see what happens, but there's a lot of possible outcomes here. So that's why I'm so excited for the future of the UFC and these upcoming matchups. So yeah, if you like this episode, hit that like button, share, comment, and subscribe. This is This What It Is? And I'm your host, Gunvid.